Hello everyone, this is Jamal Thomas and welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I have a pretty decent show for tonight. So let's get started. So first up, corporations prepare to gorge on tax cuts Trump claims will create jobs. All right, let's hear him out. And let me explain this one. So Trump is saying, we're going to cut taxes. And in cutting these taxes, we're going to take that money and we're going to essentially put millions of Americans to work. At least that's the story. The official line from US-based multinational corporations is that if they get a huge tax break, they'll bring the money home with the trillions of dollars on their profits they've stashed overseas and use it to hire tons of Americans. The Intercept's examination of dozens of earning calls and investor conferences since Trump won the election finds that many executives are telling analysts at large banks that they are eager to take the money to increase dividends and buy stock buybacks, as well as snap up competitors. They demonstrate considerably less, if any, enthusiasm for going on domestic hiring spree. Of course they don't. Why would they? Why would they? Here's a good example. So Cisco, the California-based IT giant, has $58 billion overseas and has been long one of the most outspoken corporate tax proponents of a tax holiday. I bet he was. And previous CEO John Chambers claimed in 2010 that profit repatriation could be used for creating jobs, investing in research, building plants, purchasing equipment, and other uses. But on November 16th, earnings call, Cisco CFO Kelly Kramer told securities analysts what the company would actually do with all that money. First, it would make changes to debt structure, and we would have a blend of actions we certainly can take without dividends as well as our share buybacks, as well as leaving flexibility for us to be able to do M&A and strategic investments. Look, so a tax holiday is when, so let's say a company stashes a huge amount of money overseas, like this guy, $58 billion. Well, they may be stashing that money illegally. They may be stashing it through other corporations, like kind of shelf companies. And a tax holiday says, look, the government will turn a blind eye to the crime of you hiding your money, your tax money. And we'll let you bring it back into the country, and we'll bring it into the country at a lower rate. So instead of paying maybe 20-something%, it might be 5%. Would you like to pay 5% of taxes? I know you would. Only thing you need to do is have a few $1 billion that you can hide abroad. At that point, it becomes legal, apparently. And look, and just one more point. Companies don't hire people because they get tax breaks. It doesn't work that way. Your corporation is a machine that's designed to make cash. It's their job. And as that job, in order to make as much profit as possible, as a worker, you cost them money. Now, don't get me wrong. You benefit them because, for the most part, whatever you do helps them earn whatever that money they get. But the excess over the top that the company gets, for the most part, that's in their profits. And if they have to pay you more and pay you more each year, that cuts into their profits. So if they can automate you, they're going to automate you. If you can cut your job, they're going to cut your job. And if they get money back from the government, regardless of what's coming out of their mouth, they're going to say thank you, and they're going to give that money, according to them, to their shareholders and to some other kind of corporate takeovers. Well, and look, this is kind of one of those no shit Sherlocks. Here's $1 billion back. Oh, thank you for the $1 billion. I am going to keep this money now, because if I hire a bunch of people, it's going to cost me a lot of money. I mean, look, the trend is towards less workers. I mean, if you're talking about like automation, if you're talking about shipping jobs abroad, look, you're not going to get a hiring spree unless you get a reason to get a hiring spree, and giving them tax cuts is essentially just giving them money back. That's not going to give you a hiring spree. All right, so the second story. Alleged target of drone strike that killed American teenager is alive, according to the State Department. So this is written by Jeremy Scahill. I've read Jeremy Scahill's work in the past. He has a really good documentary out. I think it's called Dirty Wars, where he goes over the United States shadow programs, particularly the kill list, where he asks the poignant question: why is the kill list getting longer? Like when Obama is sitting there, he's deciding who to knock off. Why does that list keep getting longer? And they realized the list kept getting longer because they were killing innocent people. And when you kill innocent people, it pisses everybody else off who's around them, including the family members, the friends. And look, even if you're not a family member, I would imagine you feel some kind of way about seeing people in your country getting essentially murdered by flying killer robots. So I'm going to paraphrase this case. In this particular case, the State Department did a drone strike on Awalaki. They killed him. 2 weeks later, they did a drone strike that killed his son, his 16-year-old son. That 16-year-old kid, for the most part, was not a terrorist, wasn't affiliated or closely connected with his father, and was at home with some other friends and kids when all of them got murdered. The State Department essentially said that they were trying to get another terrorist, this particular guy who they found out was still alive, and that the kid was not a kid, he was in his 20s, and that kid was talking to a terrorist or was an Al-Qaeda affiliate. He was none of those things. He was a kid. I don't know the truth of the story in that regard. Like, I don't know what the goal of knocking those guys down. I would hope that they weren't so craven as to go after the guy's son after killing him. And, to be fair to this, you also have to ask the question, well, wait a minute, they were American citizens. Where did the president get the authority to just murder American citizens like that? I mean, let alone the authority to go into other countries and kill their people. So in this case, this was in Yemen. And Yemen did allow the airstrikes. They essentially, reportedly, maybe even called them in. We are hitting a hornet's nest. And each of these countries that we have shadow wars in, I did a story the other day, I think it was like 60% of African countries who have troops in. We're killing those people. And it's not creating a situation where we're killing them and all of a sudden the list is getting smaller. We're killing them and it is getting worse. Look at the countries in the Middle East. They're being set on fire one after the other. If you think this strategy is working, you are sorely mistaken. And in this case, it killed a kid. An American kid. Who was apparently at home having lunch or having dinner with his other relatives. The grandfather reports that they went out when they came across the bodies, the grandfather, and they couldn't find him. They saw the back of his head, but they didn't necessarily see anything that was recognizable. And they put him essentially in a mass grave. He said we couldn't separate the different people because we didn't know how to separate them. Their bodies were just in bits. And immediately after that, they hear him, oh, he's a 21-year-old, he's a terrorist, he's an Al-Qaeda affiliate. So, yeah, that sucks. I mean, I don't like what we're doing over there, and I don't think it's helping at all. And I think it makes our case harder. I mean, because keep in mind, if you're killing civilians, that's terrorism. I mean, by the United States' own definition, it's terrorism. So, all right. Russia hacking. U.S. intelligence chief hits back at Donald Trump's disparagement. He's been disparaged. All right. The department head of U.S. intelligence has publicly defended his analysis regarding several attacks of Donald Trump following their conclusion that Russia interfered in the November election. There's a difference between skepticism and disparagement, James Clapper told a hearing into foreign cyber threats to the United States, led by the Senate Armed Services Committee, adding that U.S. intelligence and analysts stand more resolutely than ever behind their conclusion of Russian interference in our electoral process. Clapper said Russia had clearly assumed an even more aggressive cyber posture and described the cyber assault on the 2016 election as multifaceted. Hacking was only one part of it, he said. It entailed classical propaganda, disinformation, and fake news. I don't know if Russia hacked the election or not. I think they might have. I think they had a vested interest in doing so. I think we would have did the same goddamn thing in that situation. I don't like it, but what exactly am I going to do about it? I mean, if it was me, I think the first priority would be, well, let me shore up the things I can shore up at home. I can give you a list of like 10 items that we can shore up at home. The Russian thing, you fix the other ones, that one goes away. So, and of course, Trump never let somebody talking to him go unanswered. So, Trump tweets, he's a big fan of intelligence as Congress begins Russian hacking probe. The dishonest media likes to say that I am in agreement with Julian Assange. Wrong. I simply state what he states. It is for the people to make up their own minds as to the truth. The media lies to make it look like I am against intelligence, when in fact, I am a big fan. My wife and I were talking yesterday about the whole exclamation point behind, I think it was the day before, that whole exclamation point behind his last tweets. It is absolutely comical. So here's a question. I get annoyed by this because I feel like we have so many other issues to deal with in regards to just even our elections. So that continuously blaming Russia for it sounds absolutely ridiculous. It's like, we are so angry that Russia did this. We gotta do something to fix our elections. Well, hey, what about the Electoral College? Yeah, we can't do that. Well, what about, an affirmative right to vote for everybody? Yeah, we can't do that either. That hurts our chances in getting elected. So what can you do? Can you do politics? No, can't do that. Can't do that. All that stuff is too hard. The only thing we can do is Russia. That is fucking absurd. And so I have 3 questions associated with this. Is this political? 1. Should they go through with whatever they're talking about going through with? I mean, because I don't think they would be kicking up this much dust for no reason. What's the end goal of this? I mean, I honestly question. I mean, I don't know. Yes, you're having an investigation. Yes, what if the investigation finds there's hacking? Yes, all of your governmental departments said it was hacking. So what are you doing? What the hell is the point of the investigation? I mean, but okay, is this politics? I think it's politics. I think the Democrats want to talk about any and everything other than, hey, why did we lose to reality show hosts? That's a hard conversation. Russia? Oh, that's easy. That's an easy conversation. Now, do Democrats believe it, though? Like, is this one of those things where they're kicking up dust? And I think the people who are in Washington, no. I think some of them might. I think you have some true believers. But I think Democrats, for the most part, are like, we need to talk about anything other than us. Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia did it. Russia. It's Russia's fault. Russia did it. It's Russia and Comey. I think some Democrats believe it. Like, I think regular people believe it. And it's weird. I had a conversation with a woman today. And she was telling me, she was like, yeah, man, everything's not politics. I mean, some of these guys are just caring people and, they just care about their having fair elections. Yeah, but I just rattled off to you like 5 things that need to be fixing. Why are they going to that first? I mean, they can multitask. I mean, everybody is not a craven. And I started to realize, when you're on this particular spectrum, those things seem credible to you. Like, when I was in the Democratic Party and I would hear a Democrat do that, I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. When you see a Republican do it, you're like, those guys are full of shit. I feel like these guys are full of shit. And I'm saying Democrats on this. There's so many things that you've dropped the ball on in regards to the things that would have helped Hillary Clinton win the election. Russia wasn't a part of it. You may call it fake news, you may call it disinformation. And it wasn't disinformation. Information was true. Those Podesta emails happened. You taking that money for favors. That happened. Those are your own handwriting on the handwriting of your campaign, including those speeches. So let's not say that's disinformation. Let's say you just didn't like the information that was coming out. And if that's what the government is trying to do, to say, oh, the information we don't like is disinformation based upon that new dumbass policy under the NDAA that was passed. Then I said it, like I said the other day, man, we're going to rule the day that thing passed. And nobody said a word about it. Yeah. Trump says Trump and top advisors believe Democrats are trying to delegitimize his election victory by accusing Russia of helping him. Yes and no. I mean, yes in a sense. They're doing it for two reasons. So the first reason they're doing it is they want to tar him. They want to say, oh, dude, Red Scare, Russia is helping you out. You're just a puppet of Putin and blah, 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 blah. That's what they want. They want to make him look bad about it. So that's one part. The second part has to do with, they want to tar him. The second part is there any legitimacy to it? I think some of them, yeah. I mean, from their standpoint, on election night, their world ended. And their world ended through a reality show host. An orange reality show host that on the day he was elected was 60% unqualified based upon what the public was thinking. So, yeah, I would imagine that shit hurts. And that shit should hurt. But whether or not this Russia stuff is going to work or not, why can't you just articulate a vision? Like, I know you got to take points with us, so fine. And maybe it'll work with some of your base. Fine. I don't think it's going to work with any of the supporters. And I'm even skeptical that it will work with other people in the party. Democrats, yeah, they'll agree with you. The other people, yeah. All right. And continuing with Donald Trump. So I thought this one was kind of comical. And it's probably going to spell bad news for the next 4 years. Chinese state media threatens Donald Trump with big sticks if he pushes for a trade war. China is not taking any shit off of Donald Trump, apparently. All right. China's state-run tabloid, The Global Times, on Thursday warned President-elect Donald Trump that his angry tweets targeting the country over trade had given Beijing officials plenty of time to prepare. There are flowers around the gate of China's Ministry of Commerce, but there are also big sticks hidden inside the door, both await Americans, the paper said. I love that. That is political portrait. There are big sticks in this door waiting for you if you try to fuck up. Yeah, this is interesting, and I don't quite know. I don't know how this turns out. I gotta be honest. I mean, of course, I don't know how it turns out. But I'm saying, is he ballsy enough to put a tariff on something from China? Like, is he ballsy enough to do that? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, he seems to be pissed off at China pretty heavily. At the very least, the people who are backing him are. And to their credit, these trade deals have not done us well. I mean, ultimately, so think of it this way. And Democrats did this, so I agree with conservatives on this point. It essentially funnels money to the top. So you're a corporation. You're hiring an American worker, let's say at $14 an hour, because he's doing a factory job. Your CEO says, a trade deal was just passed. So now I can take that trade deal and I can ship this job to China or to Mexico or to some other country. And I can pay that worker $3 an hour, where I was paying the other guy $14 an hour. And I can re-import that stuff back into the United States for free because they just passed a trade deal. So there are no tariffs or anything else that needs to be dealt with. I've just made, $9 profit. And just by doing that, and look, the interesting outcome, which is kind of foreseeable, is, if I have an incentive to get rid of a job, I'm going to get rid of a job. My goal is to make as much profit as possible. If I have a financial motive to eliminate your position, I'm going to eliminate your position. In many respects, it's why Hillary lost Michigan, Wisconsin, like those Rust Belt areas, Ohio. Her husband signed NAFTA. And she's a free trade wheeler herself. Even with Obama, she was for the TPP. And even in the Podesta reports, she was still willing or was trying to figure out a way to get back to it. So, Oh man, yeah, that's a tough one. I'm reserved judgment for that. That's whatever happens, see what happens. I have no clue. I mean, Donald Trump is ballsy enough to try it, maybe. But you never know. I mean, he lies so fluidly. And when I mean fluidly, I don't mean well. I just mean he just kind of goes from one lie to the next. So, this story annoyed the shit out of me today, and it really pissed me off. 4 arrested over Facebook Live video of man tortured amid anti-Trump taunts. I'm not going to show the video. Because I don't want to see the video. Because I honestly think it's so fucked up and grotesque. But let me read it. And this is in reference to the gentleman who's getting tortured. He's traumatized by the incidents, and it's very tough to communicate with him at this point. He added of the victim, it took most of the night for him to calm down enough to be able to talk to us. Now, to hear what they did, the footage was live streamed on Facebook, showed several people taunting and assailing the man while he was sitting in a corner of a room restrained with his mouth taped closed. Video of brutal act towards an adult male with mental health challenges made its way onto social media, Johnson said. Johnson is the detective. The images in the video put on display the brazenness of offenders who assaulted the victim and broadcasted for the entire world to see. They were to the point where at times, as they were walking back and forth on the camera, one guy said, "Look at him, tied up." Somebody else can be heard laughing and threatening to put the victim in a trunk. At one point, the suspect appeared to grab the victim by his neck and tighten the ties around him. "I'll torture the fuck out of you," later a man said in the video, looking at the camera. Another male voice can be heard adding, "There's going to be a murder here." Throughout the course of the story, these fucking idiots went back and forth chanting "fuck Trump" and, saying Trump can kiss their ass, whatever. They were essentially swearing at Trump while they were torturing this guy. The cop said this had nothing to do. It wasn't racially motivated. He said these guys, for the most part, didn't go out looking for a white guy in order to torture him. So what the fuck was your plan? I mean, look, these are the 4 assholes. They are going to spend a long time in jail. And they have earned that long time in jail. And you have anything to say about this? Did you see this?
I didn't watch the video. But I read it. Like you, I had no desire to watch the video.
It pissed me off.
Hearing it was enough. I can't believe that it wasn't racially motivated.
They said, don't get me wrong, it could have been one of those things where they found somebody, grabbed them, and then that's just the thing that kind of came up in conversation as they were figuring out how to fuck with the guy. I don't know, man. This shit is sick. You can use that energy in more positive ways. I mean, it didn't necessarily have to be directed at somebody who was weaker than you and who couldn't really do anything to defend themselves. This annoyed the hell out of me. This is absolutely horrid. And if they charge these guys for a hate crime, they should charge them for a hate crime.
Well, that's what it says.
Yeah, they were trying to charge them for a hate crime?
Yeah.
Well, the last ones I saw said that the cop said that he didn't think it was racially motivated. But fuck that. Take this shit at his word. If they're out there hollering, "Fuck Trump," yeah.
I saw one that said, "Fuck white people." That sounds like a hate crime.
But is it... I guess what I'm saying is, are they doing it after they catch the person? Like, let's say if they would have caught somebody else who was Asian or black. Would they have just been saying something else?
I don't know. But I know that if they're on video saying "fuck white people" and beating up a white person...
And look, if the roles were reversed...
Sounds like a dog.
They would have threw that white guy in prison for the same shit. Well, that's assuming that as long as he wasn't a cop, they would have thrown him in prison. Yeah, man. These guys are going to spend a long time in prison, and they've earned every goddamn minute of the time they spent in prison. So, this is a pretty good one. I actually like this one. I thought it was more comical than anything else. Police unions outraged over painting in U.S. Capitol that depicts cops as animals. Oh, you don't say. I absolutely love this. The work features signs that read "Racism kills and Stop kills," a slogan that appears to be cut off by protesters in the foreground. Slogans like this have been regular features at demonstrations since the officer killed black teenager Michael Brown in 2014. So, Police Officers Association responded to this. They're basically saying that all police officers who wear the uniforms are racist and kill African Americans. And that's not true, Paul Kelly, president of San Jose Police Officers Association, told the Bay Area News Group. It absolutely may trigger someone else to say, I'm done with this. I'm going to take action. I'm going to kill a cop. Yeah, let's bring that down, dude. Because that's pretty... Yeah. Look, I see you as this. I see you as animals. I honestly do. And you know what may incite to people killing cops? Cops killing people who are unarmed. It's artwork. Get over yourself. He's giving you some criticism. Take the goddamn criticism. You fucking earned it. And in situation after situation, when these guys murder somebody, their first thought is, well, I mean, let's let it play out. It didn't play out when you murdered the guy, did it? Yeah. This was in protest to something that you guys did. And no, I don't think all police officers killed cops, but that report from the Justice Department about your department was pretty damning. And it definitely showed bias, and they were pretty explicit that the tenor of your department was pretty damn racist. Well, now, whether or not you killed Michael Brown in that under that fervor, I don't know. Do I know your department practice as a whole? Yes, I take the Justice Department as word on that one. So, yeah, get over it. Get over it. You can't be. If you're that thin-skinned, you need to go into some other line of work. Oh, and by the way, you want to know why they think you guys are animals? Republican sheriff wants to make prison inmates build Trump border wall. He essentially wants to use prison labor to build a border wall between Mexico and the United States. I can think of no other project that would have such a positive impact on our inmates in our country than building this border wall. Bristol County Sheriff Thomas Hodgson, did I pronounce that right? Hodgson said in his swearing-in ceremony for the fourth term in office late Wednesday. Aside from learning and perfecting construction skills, the symbolism of these inmates building a wall to prevent crime in communities around the country and to preserve jobs and work for opportunities for other Americans upon release can be powerful, he said. Building a wall to prevent crime in communities around the country? How the fuck is that wall going to stop crime in other communities?
Because those rapist Mexicans, like
Man,
Trump said.
That's fucking amazing. When I read this article, I missed that the first time.
Out.
We got to keep those Mexicans. They're rapists and criminals, and if we can just keep those Mexicans out, our crime rate is just zero. And look, what better than to keep the Mexicans out than black slave labor or slave labor with the people in the prisons? I'm saying black, was whoever. A high preponderance in prison, but slave labor. I mean, what do you call it when the state forces people to do work for little to no money? I mean, you can say little money, but they're getting paid like cents on a dollar. That's called slave labor. And why does the United States have to be kept being told, hey, it's not right to put people in bondage. And when you do put them in bondage, it's not right to force them to work for you. Particularly not to build some dumbass wall that is wholly unnecessary. Do you know that the migration between the border, guess the number. Guess what the rate is right now.
What is it?
Zero. And Obama has been deporting Hispanics left and right. He deported more in this presidency than the last few combined. Yes, immigration is not a problem. And look, it's not like you guys are going to craft any kind of decent immigration policy or anything like that. You're going to make up some dumbass ideological policy that doesn't suit or help anybody. So, this is fucking insane. And yeah, I do think this guy's an animal. So, let the guy put his picture up. And for the last one, I saw this and I love this. this is really, really good. So, more than 30,000 Muslims in the United Kingdom marched in solidarity against ISIS. I love it. I mean, there's always this refrain from people who know nothing about anything outside of the world. I mean, outside of their country, the United States. I'm talking about the United States. Who, they're like, yeah, why don't the other Muslims, march? If some of the Muslims are okay, why don't they march against the bad ones? They do, asshole. And they speak out. And oftentimes, the question becomes, where would you have heard that news? What news source are you looking at where you would have heard, hey, 30, 40,000 Muslims got together and, tried to rebuff ISIS, or at the very least was given this vocal show of support that they are against extremism? You are never going to see that story on Fox News. Look, if you do, send it. I will be stunned. You would never see that story on Fox News. But that's awesome. Alright guys, thank you. That's going to be the end of the show for tonight. If you like the content, like the video. If you want more, subscribe. Yeah. Alright guys, good night.